Hi, I'm Kerry Dunn here in Framingham, conducting the last day of June edition of my pandemic garden tour here in Framingham in front of our home. It's been raining a lot the last few days. It may actually rain while I'm out on this tour. So a lot of stuff is wet, a lot of things are flopped over, but that's the way the garden looks at the moment. So we'll take a look. We're gonna start right here in the front yard. Right, we have a front perennial bed. I've got a few other random items mixed in, including a few tomatoes, right? But we've got some daylilies, some very hardy Russian sage, a lot of monarda. Monarda is also known as bee balm. We get the red variety. It spreads like crazy. It's actually somewhat invasive, but it attracts hummingbirds and lots of pollinators. The daylilies and the Russian sage are very hardy plants. They can actually tolerate some road salt and not be killed, so they're a great border along the street. Got a wide variety of plants here. The beard tongue is almost done blooming. Got some dahlia, a couple tomatoes mixed in, a real nice sunflower that we planted from seeds, and another variety here. This is one of my very favorite garden flowers, rose campion. It reseeds itself in all sorts of random places each year. You never know where it's going to pop up. Got a couple of sedums that are soon to bloom. Right, I've got some evening primrose with a yellow bloom mixed in with some daylilies here. I have a few zinnias planted from seed that will bloom soon. So here's what they look like right now. They'll be pretty impressive next month. We have a lot of milkweed that is blooming. Attracts pollinators all the time. So we planted it for the purpose of, it's a food for monarch butterfly caterpillars, and they like to lay their eggs on it. But the bees absolutely love it too. They're so happy right now when they're visiting the milkweed. I could probably pet that guy, anybody's staying me. Everything's a little wet and floppy at the moment. We also have a strategic gardening error. I planted the milkweed, which is tall and spreads, in front of the hydrangea, which is blooming beautifully this year. The only problem is nobody can see it, so I'm going to have to move some of that milkweed this fall. Get it out of there. We have some other forms of hydrangea that are blooming as well. So our hardy hydrangeas have just started to bloom. These also attract a lot of pollinators. This kind of snowball-like lime green hydrangea is an Annabelle hydrangea. We have some astilbe that's at the end of its bloom cycle. This is called goat's beard over here. Got some pink astilbe. Our hostas are doing well. Somehow we managed to keep the deer out of them this year. We'll take a look at our shade garden when more things are blooming next month. Let's head to the backyard. My husband Adam is working on a patio project as his own pandemic project, so he's dug up some old kind of weed-strewn pavers and he's going to build a nice patio with new pavers. Let's take a look at our Asian pear tree. It has lots of little pears on it. They kind of are the shape of apples and crisp like apples, but taste like pear. They're really delicious. We have a new pandemic accessory in our yard, the hammock. It's wet right now, but it's enjoyable. Our red pear tree is thriving and doing very well, so let's take a look at some of these nice red pears here. We really pruned our grape arbor this year. It was getting a little out of control, so it's less out of control now, but we do have a few grapes, so let me zoom in on them. You can see them. Hopefully they'll mature and can be picked soon enough. All right, let's see what else we've got going on over here that's blooming or fruiting. Okay, this is a new pear tree. It's a green pear, right, although it does have a hint of red to it, that we planted this year. Just a few of the pears on it look like they'll make it to maturity. We actually planted this in the fall. Unfortunately, we've got to figure out what to do about this. We have a couple of apple trees and they definitely got hit hard with a rust spot blight. It doesn't affect the overall health of the tree, but it's definitely not very pretty, and this is not a great year for apple tree fruit anyways for us, so we may just leave it alone and try again next year. It's going to be a great berry year though. So we have all sorts of berries in development here. These are blackberries. They will become very large once they're ripe. They'll really ripen towards the end of July and into August, but they're underway. This is our rain garden. Got some astilbe back here. One big blueberry bush that I've netted. Keep going here. This is my first year that I really individually netted using a wedding veil fabric, each individual blueberry bush in hopes of keeping the birds, specifically these gray catbirds that really love blueberries, and the chipmunks out of them. They'll probably win, but maybe I'll get a few more blueberries than I would normally. The blueberries are just turning blue. It's quite exciting. So I can see one right in here. I'll grab it. So it is really fun to be able to come out here and grab some berries and munch on them. We have a black raspberry patch here. So the berries are not ripe until they're really dark black and glossy. They're just a couple days away right now. They're really thorny, so you gotta be careful when you pick these. This is a potato patch. So it's just grocery store potatoes that have sprouted that we planted. You can't actually dig up the ground and harvest the potatoes until the green tops of the plants start to yellow and die off. Probably it'll be early August when we'll harvest this crop. Here's our apricot tree. We had one solitary little apricot on it, but somebody stole it, probably a squirrel. So right now it doesn't have any fruit, but it is thriving, so I'm hopeful for fruit in future years. Our actual vegetable and herb garden is doing well. So we have a lot of this interesting variety of basil that I planted from seed. Right, we've got some zinnias mixed in there. Some dill, which is flowering. Now theoretically you're supposed to cut the flowers off to produce more dill leaves, but there are a lot of pollinators and butterflies that really like the dill flowers. Swallowwort butterflies or swallowtail butterflies really like them. I've got some oregano I grew from seed in there, some cilantro, another sunflower that's growing about 6 inches a day, which is kind of exciting. Also to attract pollinators, I've got some echinacea, also known as coneflower, that will bloom later this summer. It's close to blooming now. Doing quite well. We have a lot of rabbits in the yard. They keep going after my kale, so my kale keeps growing nicely and then getting eaten, and then we have to hit it restarts after the bunnies have nibbled on it. We've got a butterfly weed here, which has an orange flower that's just about to bloom, attracts butterflies. The star of our garden thus far has been our peas. So I pick about a pint of pea pods a day. You can just eat them raw, they're delicious, or you can saute them. I'm 5'8", and these pea pods are well over a foot taller than me. So they're probably about 7 feet high, which is really neat. This is a mixed bed with some asparagus and then, of course, some invasive mint that took over, and we enjoy both of those things. And they seem to cohabitate okay. Rhubarb is big and thriving. We've got some bean plants that are going to really take over once the peas are done, and the peas will be done soon. Okay, so our pea pods look great, but probably the height of the pea season is maybe about 2 more weeks, and then the plants will start dying back. And as they start dying back, we started some bean seeds a couple weeks ago, and they're already about 3 feet high, and they will kind of take over the places where the peas have been growing. Both are legumes, and legumes enrich the soil. I've got some gooseberry doing real well in here. A few of the plants have berries. I'm looking forward to actually eating my first gooseberry, which I've never tried before. Got some zinnias in there for pollination. Oh, my mother-in-law Phyllis wants me to remind everyone that you should only eat the rhubarb stalks, not the leaves. The leaves are poisonous. So, word from Phyllis, don't eat the rhubarb leaves. Over here we have an impressive and large and unintentionally large red raspberry patch. So they're just starting to ripen. Right, so there's one right here. Right, so we'll be getting a lot of red raspberries over the next few weeks. We've got some blackberries mixed in there too. We have more blueberry bushes as well. There's our rain barrel. We have a couple of rain barrels. They've been filling really rapidly during this rain time, which is great because water's gotten very expensive in Framingham. More netted blueberry bushes. We've acquired some fake snakes. We have some real snakes too. Unfortunately, I haven't seen much of them this year, but my husband ordered some fake snakes off of the internet, and we've scattered them around in the hopes of tricking the varmints, especially chipmunks and rabbits. I don't think it's working, but worth an attempt. Our peach trees are going well. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to figure out a way to deter critters from grabbing our little baby peaches, which are ripening really quite nicely. There's a couple of them. This is the first year we've had any sort of decent amount of fruit. I'd estimate that we probably have about 20 peaches on this tree in its third year. We have another younger peach tree that's about maybe a year and a half old that doesn't seem to have any matured fruit on it yet, but it will eventually. We have another rhubarb plant in here, and then we have currants as well, and some beans and peas in this garden bed. But we should get a few ripe currants this year, and that'll be exciting, and these guys will get big over the years and come back every year. So there's a nice currant plant. And we'll end at our last apple tree. There we go. Thanks for joining me on the late June edition of my pandemic garden tour. I'll be back at the end of July, and we'll see what's blooming and what's growing at that point. See you soon. Bye-bye.